Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order can emerge, a new era, freer from the threat of terror, stronger in the pursuit of justice, and more secure in the quest for peace.
A question has come up quite frequently within the Flat Earth debate, and that is, why in the world would the leaders of the world hide the shape of the world? The Flat Earth discussion has caught the internet by storm, and an exponentially growing number of people are starting to adopt, with absolute conviction, the geocentric, flat, stationary model of our Earth. A model many cultures before us subscribed to and recorded within scripture and mythology. If the Earth is not in fact a big ball whipping in orbit around a central thermonuclear furnace, as we have been told since birth, what would be the endgame in deceiving people of its true shape? What exactly is the motive for creating a false model? My hope is to try to answer that question in a very unique way in this video. To be clear, this film will not be focused on any of the material science and proofs on the matter of Flat Earth. There is ample material on the subject for you to comb through at your leisure. I'm not going to go into a long diatribe about the Flat Earth discussion, but I will say this. I, like so many others, went into the subject to essentially debunk such an outrageous claim. The Earth is not flat. And I, like so many others, have come out on the other side, no longer able to even defend the heliocentric model. There's a meme out there that sums up the whole phenomenon perfectly. How did I become a flat earther? I tried to debunk flat Earth. Before we can even begin to discuss the shape of the Earth, I think we first need to relook at and re-examine the human vessel that allows us to even question our reality in the first place. Before we talk about flat Earth, let's first get to know ourselves. Though the Flat Earth discussion is a gravely important topic, we must not be remiss in solidifying and positively coming to know the importance of the human being, regardless of the shape of the construct in which we live. We find this truth about mankind's inherent significance when we catch a word from the ancient Greeks at the Delphic Oracle, when it was said that, "O man, know thyself, and you shall know the universe and the gods." We also hear from the philosopher Protagoras that man is the measure of all things. The Holy Bible and Quran also offer up some very interesting verses. The Holy Quran says, "When I have proportioned him and breathed into him of my created soul, then fall down to him in prostration." And the Holy Bible exclaims in Genesis 1:27, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them." Now, whatever your particular take and viewpoint is on these holy books and the various belief systems that have sprouted up around these books, it's interesting nonetheless that we find the same theme of the creator within man, or man made in the image of God, echoed in both books. Long-standing ideas and concepts such as God's omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence, and concepts such as panentheism and pantheism all reveal a common philosophy surrounding the idea of God within man. Put simply, if God has created everything, then in order for continuity to even exist, the Creator cannot stand aside the creation. It must interweave itself within every single aspect of it. Monotheism is the idea that God is one, with mono meaning singular or one, and theism being the study of God, leading to the understanding that God is one, or there is indeed one God. Now, monotheism simply means, when you strip away all the baggage surrounding the organized religion's take on the matter, that is, monotheism basically means that no matter how many divisions and fragments there are in creation, ultimately the living universe is one singular being. Put simply, God is within all things, which means definitively that God is within you. So how do we get to know ourselves and come to understand our deep connection to the world around us? Well, the best way I have come to understand man's connection to his world is through the language that the cosmos gave us to understand it: mathematics. Mathematics is the one language that is, without question, universal to all peoples and is the one medium that is shared cross-culturally, irrespective of time, geographic location, or cultural differences. Now, the mathematics I'm talking about here is not the complicated and torturous labyrinthian and too often theoretical math touted in the physics halls of Ivy League universities. No, I am talking here about the basic mathematical principles that everyone generally understands, with those being add, subtract, multiply, and divide. The first place we wish to start our mathematical investigation into knowing ourselves is with what is right in front of us: our two hands. Your two hands are segmented beautifully and simply to reveal some fundamental mathematical principles and numbers. Your fingers are naturally divided into 28 phalanges, or bone segments, with 3 on each finger and 2 on each thumb, giving 14 for the left hand and 14 for the right hand, coming together to be a total of 28. We can also find the numbers 2 and 8 in 28 with our 2 thumbs and 8 fingers. It's also important to note here that the word digit comes from the Latin word digitus, which literally means finger, further emphasizing the importance of the mathematics of one's hands. This number 28 that we find on our two hands is directly connected to the moon. The moon goes through its phases between full moon to full moon in a roughly 28-day period. We all know that women's menstrual cycles are tied to the moon, with a woman's period happening roughly every 28 days. Since it is this cycle that brings each and every human being into this plane of existence, it is most astonishing and certainly not coincidental that both the moon and your two hands reflect the periodicity of such a fundamental human biological cycle. What's more is that the day of ovulation can be found on the human hands as well. And this comes from mdhealth.com, and it says, how to determine the most fertile day. The first day of a woman's period is taken as the starting point of the cycle, and if the cycle is a 28-day cycle, then the 14th day after a period is estimated to be the ovulation, which means that the egg drops in a woman's reproductive period right between the number of digits of one's hands. 14 for the left and 14 for the right, and on the 14th day, the egg drops. Now, of course, ovulation does not always happen exactly 14 days after menstruation, but we can easily see and deduce that there is a fundamental template centered around human growth, and it is very clearly focused around the numbers 14 and 28, numbers found on your two hands. The number 28 leads us to another number that is very significant in mythology, spirituality, and metaphysics, and that being the number 7. Using simple addition on the numbers 1 through 7, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7, just walking up our number line, we find the number 28, very clearly showing the importance of the number 7 within the human experience. It hardly needs to be mentioned here how many times the number 7 shows up in our world. 7 days a week, 7 stars in the Big Dipper, 7 sisters in the Pleiades, 7 days of creation in Genesis, 7 branches of the candelabrum. Cultures the world over, from Hindu, Irish, Kashi, Buddhist, Christian, Islamic, you name it, culture after culture have noted a special significance to the number 7. Why? Well, it is really no secret to see why when we simply use addition on the first 7 numbers in our number line, adding up to be the 28 phalanges of our 2 hands. There are 7 notes of the major scale: A, B, C, D, E, F, and finally resting on G. These 7 major notes on a grand piano create 7 1/3 octaves, totaling 88 keys. This auditory spectrum is basically the range that human beings can comfortably hear. You play these 88 keys with your 28 phalanges, and 88 divided by 28 is 3.142, an approximation and widely used abbreviation of the infinite and transcendental number of pi, or 3.1415. Pi is a vastly important constant in mathematics and something we will be covering more in just a bit. The 88 keys of a grand piano divided by the 28 phalanges of your hands, giving us pi, gives us a little insight into just why it is called a piano. There are 7 notes of the major scale and 12 notes of the chromatic scale, with the 13th note being the octave. The number 13 and 28 can be used to construct a calendar. A calendar of 13 months and 28 days per month, creating a 364-day year, with an extra non-calendrical day added each year, allows for an easy link up to the solar calendar. The brilliance and simplicity of this calendar is that every day and month is the exact same as the previous year, something amiss in our current Gregorian calendar. The mathematics of this calendar is found cleverly encoded within the popular Mayan Chichen Itza temple, as well as in the common deck of cards. The number 13 can be found on the human body as well, with the major joints allowing for movement summing to 13, with those being 2 ankles, 2 knees, 2 hips, 2 shoulders, 2 elbows, 2 wrists, and 1 neck, totaling 13. These 13 joints with your 28 phalanges of your hands constructs a lunar calendar. 13 times 28 equals 364. The number 364, unveiled to us in a 13-month, 28-day calendar, is found hidden in a bunch of different places. Have you ever gone to the slots and pulled them down hoping for that lucky jackpot of 777? Why are 777s considered lucky? Well, doing a little math reveals to us that 7 times 7 times 7 equals 343, and 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 21, and 343 plus 21 sums to 364. The exact same number created by a 13-month, 28-day calendar, with this calendar created by the human body. But it doesn't end there. The human baby is born with 20 baby teeth, and the adult set of teeth number 32, which means that your 20 baby teeth and your 32 adult teeth sum to 52, which is the number of weeks in the year. How about this one? Each human foot has 26 bones, which means that when you have both feet planted firmly to the ground, there are 52 bones that allow you to walk on this Mother Earth. Once again, equivalent to the number of weeks in the year, with 7 times 52 equaling 364. Please note before we move on, this is not some mathematical tomfoolery we are dealing with here. These are fundamental numbers within calculable cycles of the heavens found on major anatomical natural divisions of the human temple. Even within the infinite complexity of the human being, the unadorned simplicity behind the handiwork and construction of the human temple is nothing less than absolutely astounding. So what does all this mean? Such subtle and beautiful numeric connections allow us to see an elegant simplicity and craftiness within creation. It only takes but an artistic, almost childlike investigative glance at the human body to allow the artwork itself to reveal its superb intelligence. With the cycles of the heavens found mathematically on the Temple of Man, this leads us to a more concrete understanding of the ancient philosophical credo of, as above, so below. A precept that essentially declares that what is above in the heavens is directly connected to that which is here on earth. If God is within everything and is within man, as many of these mystical teachings have asserted, then which God is man to subscribe to? Throughout many different epochs, from numerous different cultures, and from many different religions, we have been gifted with, or cursed with, depending on your viewpoint, various different spiritual texts. A few we have here are the Zohar, the Upanishads, the Holy Bible, the Holy Quran. With all of these books to choose from, which book is the correct book? Which text is the true written word of God?
It would be blasphemy to suggest that we could describe the Creator in human terms.
Why? I mean, if he created us, why wouldn't he appear to us as one of us?
What mankind needs to recognize and come to understand is that, first and foremost, none of these texts, not a single one of them, could have been written without the hands of man. In other words, whatever supposed spiritual revelation or message that may have been handed down from God himself first had to pass through the heart, soul, and mind of man. No matter what spiritual lessons or messages may be found within the various religious texts, none of them could have been laid to paper without the intercession of man's ability to first contemplate the glory of the Great Spirit and then commit that glory to the page. The cold hard fact is, if we are to be honest with ourselves, we must admit unequivocally that we have absolutely no idea who wrote most of these books, what has happened to them over time, who has changed them, possibly manipulated them, but we can come to know, without dispute, what story God did author. And that is, of course, this whole circus called existence that you and I seem to be plopped in the middle of. If we cannot with 100% conviction assure ourselves of the authenticity of any of these texts, then what holy book should we read and subscribe to in order to find the pathway to our divinity? Well, accordingly, we should be reading intimately the one that we know for a fact that the Creator wrote himself, and that is the holy book of nature and the doctrine of flesh and spirit called the human temple. Or in simpler terms, you are the written word of God. And just like a book, your right cover and your left cover are held together by a spine. One last little mathematical gem we're going to cover here is incorporated into the human body and is found in the skull. The skull is composed of 22 bones. 14 make up the facial bones, and the remaining 8 compose the cap. These 22 bones ultimately create 7 orifices: 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and 1 mouth. 22 bones of the skull divided by 7 orifices is, once again, 3.142, an approximation of the number pi. Huh. Pi is encoded in your skull, huh? It makes you wonder if one of those Yale secret societies so popular with conspiracy theorists are aware of such information. I'll let you be the judge of that. So we found pi twice now, once in our heads and once in our hands playing the piano. What is pi and why is it so important? Pi is simply the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, and pi is considered an infinite, transcendental, and irrational number. Pi is a cornerstone and constant within mathematics, and most branches from trigonometry to engineering utilize this number heavily. Pi, in my humble opinion, is a great mystery and seems to pop up again and again in the most unusual and interesting of places. And one of these places that pi shows its face, as we will come to find, is within the English alphabet. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the work I do, I study and teach, amongst many other topics, an artistic science called gematria, especially with its regards to the English alphabet. There are numerous videos, blogs, books, interviews, and the like in which I explain, through a number of various different avenues and phenomenon, the truly awesome ways in which this science can help unveil a richness and beauty within the numbers, letter symbols, and words we use to collectively create our reality. For brevity's sake, we're going to go over the number-to-letter correlation and cipher for the English alphabet very quickly here, but please know that there is a plethora, endless hours of material to comb through about this subject. The 26 letters of our English alphabet can be broken up into 2 blocks of 13 letters, making the G and T on both sides central within each block. By utilizing the number 7, we can walk up and assign numbers to the first 7 letters of both sides of our alphabet. AN is 1, BO is 2, CP is 3, DQ is 4, ER is 5, FS is 6, and GT is 7. Now, instead of ascending up to 8, 9, 10, etc., let us descend from 7 back down to 1, giving us HU is 6, IV is 5, JW is 4, KX is 3, LY is 2, and MZ is 1. And so, using the holy number 7 as a central pillar, utilizing cosmological constants such as beauty, simplicity, elegance, and symmetry on our alphabet, we find the following cipher. Using this cipher on the word 7, the very number we focused on to create the cipher in the first place, we find that the word 7 gives us the numbers 65551, which when added together sums to 22, and 22 divided by the word 7 is 3.142, or pi, once again. Okay, so the question you might be asking at this point is, what in the world does all of this have to do with flat Earth?
We have before us the opportunity when we are successful.
This is the main insignia or symbol for the United Nations. The United Nations is composed of the most powerful and prominent governments of the world and is one of the places, out of many, where some of the most powerful people of the world gather to discuss the future of our Mother Earth and the peoples of this plane. The overview of the United Nations is most interesting, and their description makes it clear the aims, goals, and overarching authority claimed by this organization. And this comes directly from the United Nations website. Due to the powers vested in its charter and its unique international character, the United Nations can take action on the issues confronting humanity in the 21st century, such as peace and security, climate change, sustainable development, human rights, disarmament, terrorism, humanitarian and health emergencies, gender equality, governance, food production, and more. The UN logo consists of what is known as an azimuthal equidistant projection, which is said to be a projection of the globe from the North Pole onto a two-dimensional surface. Within the Flat Earth community, this symbol and map takes on an entirely different meaning. There are several so-called Flat Earth maps, a popular one being the Gleason's Flat Earth map, which seems to corroborate a geographic flat plane to the general layout of the azimuthal equidistant projection. This logo is also used by many different maritime and navigational organizations and groups. Now, the cipher we just unveiled using the number 7 on the English alphabet can be found on the UN logo as well. First, if we count the number of leaves on both sides, we find the number 28, the number of phalanges on your 2 hands. This number is even broken up to 14 on the left and 14 on the right. Simple math, nothing complicated here.
Now I'm going to test you numerology skills. by asking you to think about the magic 7. Okay?
If you notice, the 2 leaves on the bottom are the only ones with stems, and they are connected to each other, leaving the 2 mirrored wreaths. The symmetrical wreaths each have 13 leaves. The wreath on the left has 6 pointing out and 6 pointing in, with 1 pointing up, and the wreath on the right has the same. The pattern of the leaves fits perfectly the number pattern of the number-to-letter correlation of the English alphabet that we just unveiled. Here are the letters, and here are the numbers associated to those letters. Now, if you think this is all hogwash and horse apples, and that your humble narrator here is just cherry-picking information and assigning meaning where none exists, I would advise you to take caution in such a line of thinking. There are numerous other symbols, games, and phenomenon that may be used to uncover this cipher. The chromatic music scale, dice, the emblem of Israel, the 7-branch candelabrum of the menorah, the Ouija board, the Hebraic tetragrammaton, and even the Freemasonic square and compasses can all be used to find this very particular number-to-letter correlation. I encourage you to explore the many ways in which this cipher can be constructed. It is very important to note the ubiquity of symbolism use across the world. I am assuming none of you, like me, ended up taking Symbolism 101 in high school or college because, well, they just don't teach that kind of stuff in the world of academia. Symbolism is one of the most fascinating subjects I have ever had the pleasure of studying. The beautiful thing about the study of symbolism is you don't need a teacher to study it because the symbol itself is the teacher. To study a symbol and therefore attain an understanding of how powerful the doctrine of symbolism plays out in our world simply requires one to ask the symbol itself for its meaning. An example. Why is it that universally an owl is considered wise? Heck, even a group of owls is called a parliament. Well, to understand the symbolism of the owl, all we have to do is ask the owl itself, and it will tell us through its own unique attributes and qualities. Why are owls considered wise? Well, for starters, they can see at night, with night being symbolic of the mysterious nature of the unknown and the darkness of ignorance. Owls have enormous forward-facing eyes, and they can turn their heads a whopping 270 degrees, which means that, from the right starting point, owls have the ability to perceive 360 degrees of their world. The 270 degrees that they can rotate their heads is also a beautiful numeric corollary to the 270 days generally given for human gestation, or 9 months, which is further interesting since the owl has been well known to be a symbol of fertility. Understanding symbolism may give us a deeper insight into why the owl is used so frequently and prominently in folklore, myth, and within secret gatherings of very powerful and very influential people in our world. It has become a modern trend to demean, belittle, and deny someone's position and point of view by simply accusing them of being a conspiracy theorist. Conspiracy, or to conspire, means to make secret plans jointly to commit an unlawful or harmful act. A theory is a supposition of ideas intended to explain something. A theorem is a general proposition not self-evident but proved by a chain of reasoning. Conspiracies are not theories, they are theorems. They can be proven by the simple fact that organized evil has a historicity. It is without question that people in all sorts of different arenas, political, military, economic, social, conspire for myriad reasons all the time. Make no mistake about it, there are people with hands on the levers. There are shadowy figures behind the scenes making decisions, and there are evil forces putting deviant plans into motion. In fact, our world is currently being run by dark occultists. As most of us know, the word occult basically just means to hide, and comes from the Latin occultus, meaning hidden, concealed, or secret. So if occult means hidden, what are these dark occultists ultimately hiding? Well, let us try to answer that question with the synchronistic power of mathematics and symbolism. If you notice, there are 33 sections segmenting the AE or flat Earth map on the UN symbol. To so many people in the online alternative research community, the number 33 has become this sort of trigger mechanism. I use the number 33 in my website, and I don't know how many times I've been accused of, "Marty Leeds 33, are you kidding me? You must be part of the Illuminati or a devil-worshipping Freemason or something." Nope. Sorry to disappoint you, but I do not belong to any secret society or religious group, nor do I subscribe to any specific ideology or spiritual practice. I do not pledge allegiance to any group or organization, nor do I purport any particular belief system. I'm just here to help. So why do I have the number 33 in my name? I wrote my first manuscript, started my webpage and YouTube account on the 32nd and 33rd year of being on Earth, with these numbers often attributed to the degrees in Scottish Rite Freemasonic Ascension. 33 is an extremely important number within the study of esotericism and the occult. And personally, I think 33 has gotten a bad rap. Heck, even the mythical Jesus of Nazareth is said to have lived 33 years. And from what I gather, that guy had a lot of heart. Assigning some malicious quality to a singular number is rather childish and silly. The fact that humanity has aversions to particular numbers shows exactly how numbers and language are used to brainwash masses of people. How is it that a simple number can strike fear and paranoia into the hearts of many? Is there something inherently evil about the number 33? How about the unlucky number 13? There's even a psychological malady called triskaidekaphobia about this number. Personally, I think 13 has a lovely geometry, and let's not forget that the number 13 is also a key number that we use to decode the mathematics of the English alphabet. I often like to note that Jesus had 12 disciples and Muhammad had 12 imams, which means Jesus and his troop and Muhammad and his gang rolled in a company of 13 dudes. How about the number 666, the number of the beast? Or how about 333, the mythical witching hour? Are we to be so inane to believe that these numbers are somehow intrinsically evil? Or is it possible that we have been convinced through years of programming that these things are fundamentally evil? Could it be that just maybe numbers such as 13, 666, and 33 are keys to unlocking the mathematical and geometric language of the Creator? The number 33 is found all over the Bible, with King David, the father of Solomon, ruling for 33 years, and Jacob having 33 children. 33 is the temperature at which water boils in the Fahrenheit system, a distinction made by Mr. Gravity himself, Isaac Newton, and 33 is counted as the number of deities in the Vedic religion. What is going on with this number? According to Dartmouth College, the Mayfield Clinic, and the Laser Spine Institute, each and every one of you have 33 bones in your spinal column. Most people are familiar with the mystical raising of the Kundalini serpentine energy up one's spine in meditative practice. And the metaphysical chakra system, aligned with the spinal column, is the focus of many spiritual practices, and even the modern-day symbol of medicine is well known to be a symbolic attribution to the chakra system and the spinal column. This symbol, known as the Staff of Hermes, Caduceus, or Rod of Asclepius, is celebrated by numerous prominent cultures such as the Greeks, the Romans, the Hindus, and many others. So, in other words, the very symbol of health and spiritual ascension points directly to the number 33. And funny enough, spinal column in English gematria equals 33. What is so often misunderstood about the occult is what the occult even is. The occult is a body of information, an assemblage of wisdom about the true nature of reality and mankind's divine purpose. One of the great occult understandings about this world is the recognition that you live in a dimension where both good and evil flourish, and, as the Holy Bible symbolically encodes, how these two opposing forces even grow from the same tree. Put simply, there are two aspects to the occult, the light and the dark. The light occultists are those who work full-time for the amelioration of Mother Earth, and are those who wish to enlighten and illuminate mankind. The professors of the dark arts are those whose sole intention is to hide and steal this very same light.
The truth is that you either are here to enlighten or discourage.
The School of Hogwarts from the popular Harry Potter book and movie series is an exemplary example of this concept. The School of Hogwarts is simply a school of magic, a school of occultism, if you will. And within that school you have a protagonist, Harry Potter, and an antagonist, Draco Malfoy. You have the light and the dark. Harry, who fights ultimately for good, and Draco, the shadowy, more sinister figure. The name Harry stems from Hari, a Sanskrit word meaning golden in color, most notably found in the Hare Krishna, and a potter is someone who crafts pots or vessels. The name Draco is Latin for dragon, and Draco is the circumpolar constellation rotating continuously around the central pole of the heavens above. The prefix mal generally means unpleasant and is found in such words as malicious, malfunction, and malevolent. The word foy means a gift, and therefore Draco Malfoy is a dragon rotating around the center of the heavens above, giving out malicious gifts. And Harry Potter is he who makes cups of gold. And both of these young boys attend the very same school. I have come to find through my own unencumbered studies of number and symbol that if a particular number or symbol's character is considered fundamentally evil in today's society, it is likely only given such a distinction in order to hide the true power and connectivity behind it. With the 28 leaves recognized as the 28 phalanges of the human hands, the number 33 recognized as the 33 bones of the spinal column, and the presentation of a flat Earth map within the UN logo, we might presuppose a very dark directive set forth by the United Nations. And that is, deceive the whole of mankind about the nature of their divinity. Are we to fear math? Are we to fear the true nature of our flat earthly system? Are we to fear our language? Are we to fear symbols? If the UN logo is displaying a true flat earth map, as well as the symbolic reads to decode the mathematics of our language, as well as the key number attributed to spiritual ascension and our spinal column, then what in the world is there to fear? We have nothing to fear. We just need to shine a light on the cockroaches. The powerful and sadistic of this world have duped humanity. They have perverted science to hide the true shape of the earth, perverted religion to possess and misguide the masses. They have sold a prepackaged sack of lies deemed history, corrupted the secret orders intending to be custodians of light, destroyed the ways of the old world, buried the traditions, led inquisitions against purity and truth, indoctrinated the minds of youth by manipulating the educational system, poisoned the earth, poisoned the food, poisoned the sky, poisoned the water supply. Why? 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 Why do they continue to do this? What lunacy, what insanity, what psychopathic drive do they have? What indeed is their endgame? Existence, at least as far as the drama of mankind is solely concerned, retains its chief functionality as the place where the essence of the Creator is continually regenerated into material form, expressly to undergo the process of karmic amendment. This karmic amendment ultimately leads to a reunification with the Creator, and it is this process that those intoxicated with power are gunning for control of. And we, the people of this earth, cannot allow this to happen any longer. There is only one solution to our ills and our problems. There is only one remedy to our collective maladies. There is only one way out of this mess that we have found ourselves in, and that is to employ and utilize the all-powerful, all-embracing force of the Great Spirit. Unity. Now, does this mean that everyone is to get together and hold hands and sing Kumbaya, my lord? No, of course not. Individuality is celebrated within the grand universal artistic project, and voluntary separation or segregation socially, religiously, culturally is not necessarily something to be frowned upon. Unity does not in any way, shape, or form require any unwanted assimilation of ideas, beliefs, or peoples to be thrust upon the unwilling. Being solitary does not necessarily disavow unity. It simply can mean a separate but individual aspect of a greater whole. Unity is the most powerful force in the universe.
There was that ant that stood up to me.
Yeah, but we can forget about him.
Yeah, it was just one ant. One ant.
Yeah, you're right. It's just one ant.
Yeah, boss, they're puny.
Puny? Say, let's pretend this grain is a puny little ant. Did that hurt?
Nope.
Well, how about this one?
Are you kidding?
Well, how about this?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line.
If mankind is to overcome the ordeal we have found ourselves, continually immersed in a cascade of lies and corruption, then we must be willing to act in unity, live in harmony with Mother Nature, respect and obey natural law, coexist regardless of our differences, take responsibility for ourselves, and uphold the highest of moral standards. In fact, we the people of this earth must create a new world order.
What the hell did you just say?
Now, let's be clear here. The New World Order that I'm speaking about isn't the one we know these jackwagons are dreaming up. No thank you. There is only one world order that mankind must abide by, and that is the laws and orders put forth by Mother Nature herself. The laws of Mother Nature are, in fact, the authored laws of God. And these immutable laws, written into the fabric of existence, are the only laws that man must abide by. The great esotericist Manly Palmer Hall describes the importance of these laws as recognized throughout history. If we assume what ancient wisdom assumed, what the Hindus knew and the Chinese knew and the Greeks and Egyptians 5,000 years ago were well aware of and have given us good record of their awareness, then when we say that when man disobeys the gods, it does not mean that he goes against the words of some godling on a throne. Disobedience to the word of God or the will of God always means the breaking of natural law. That is what it has meant and will always mean. Therefore, an offense against natural law is an offense against God. The ancients were fully aware of this, that the laws of nature are the outflowing expressions of the will of the Creator. This was the belief of Pythagoras. This was the belief of Buddha. This is the great moral burden of the Institutes of Manu, that these great laws exist and will be obeyed. It is these natural laws that George H.W. Bush was disparaging when he deemed them the laws of the jungle. In replacement of these God-granted laws will be laws dreamed up by men who consciously decide to subvert the commandments of the Creator. The etymology of the word government has been well established, with govern meaning to control or steer, and ment derived from the Latin meaning mind. Therefore, a direct etymological deconstruction of the word government yields us the term mind control. It is thus no fault of reason or logic to deem the entirety of government to be, by very definition, a psyops, or a psychological operation. There is only one true authoritative force that man must abide by, and that is found within the natural forces that govern this world. This absolute truth has been no secret to countless native and aboriginal tribes across this sacred earth. Man has erringly created an organized pseudo-authority, has granted them powers to enforce laws imagined and manifested out of thin air, and allows this organization to engage in the highest acts of violence to enforce these contrived, unnatural laws. These laws exist nowhere within the wind that blows, the trees that stretch up to the heavens, the animals that roam, the rivers that meander, and the mountains that tower above. Man cannot create laws that do not exist within the natural order. This power he dreams up, and by dreaming it up has created a nightmare in his waking world. When man creates false laws, he does the first injustice to himself and his world by breaking the laws of the Great Spirit. Historically, it is well known that many religious leaders and governments have been harborers of knowledge and light while simultaneously dispersing lies, deception, and darkness to the masses. These acts continue today. It is from these acts, from taking potential beauty and kinetically energizing it negatively, is what directly creates the disharmony, dissonance, and conflict throughout mankind's current earthly challenge and situation. It is a sad and sobering fact that the impish dealers of corruption and deceit have long been at work looking to destroy what is beautiful and sacred, and unfortunately, these agents of malice are flourishing in our world today.